wait for Marie to confirm we'll go. Good evening, everybody. Dave Stewart here, leader of the Isle of Wight Council and chairing the Cabinet meeting on Thursday, the 14th of January 2021. Time now is 5 o'clock and we're going to start the meeting, which is a virtual meeting. I would ask all members who are on the meeting to please switch off their cameras unless they're asked to speak, because of the bandwidth of the council, and to make sure we keep the communications as strong as we can. At appropriate times, members will be able to ask questions, and if any member has a question, if they can indicate they wish to do so either in the chat box or by raising their hand, officers will pick that up and draw it to my attention. So I'm going to move on to the start of the meeting now. The first item on the agenda is the minutes. They're shown at page 5 to 12, and I would ask the Cabinet to confirm that they are happy that they are a true record of decisions of the meeting, which was held on the 12th of November 2020. Are members happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
confirmed.
yep.
Yes. Confirmed. Thank you, colleagues. Second item on the agenda, just to invite members of the Cabinet to declare if they have any interest that they may have in any matters on the agenda which they have not already previously disclosed. Can I confirm that's correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you very much. I move now to public question time, and we have a maximum of 15 minutes for written questions and then a further 15 minutes for oral questions. I'll begin with the written questions, which I have a copy of. I have a question and then I have a reply to give. So these are in the order that I've got them on my my iPad. So I have a written question from a Mr. Steve Cole to myself as the leader. It says, as the council seems to be willing to put aside the well-being users of the Esplanade and ignore the views of more than 3,000 projectors on various platforms, I feel it's fair to assume that the revenue generation is the main driver for these proposals. Can we be assured that the predicted income of £66,000 is realistic, given that with approximately 150 spaces, there will need to be a take-up of at least 1 hour per space per day for every day of the year? With the conditions that the meters would be subject to, along with the unrestricted view of approaching Warden, I cannot believe the income generated will be offset the detrimental effect to all users. I am referring this, I think, to the item on the agenda to do with parking at Cowes and Gurnard. The response to the question is, as set out in the Cabinet report, the Council received 449 valid objections to the proposal to introduce charges between Egypt Point and Gurnard. The income estimate reflects the seasonal use of the Esplanade and is based on known comparable data. Accordingly, it is considered realistic and achievable. The next question I have is from an Emily and Ian Moore to myself. Following the proposal to implement parking charges on Prince's Esplanade, I am writing to give our point of view as owners of the Beach Hut 24 at Gurnard. We are Gurnard residents and purchased the Beach Hut in 2018 for use by us as a family with children, and also by my mum in her 70s who loves the beach. She has had a double hip replacement, and therefore being able to park nearby and access the Beach Hut easily is really important. Since we bought the Beach Hut in 2018, the Isle of Wight Council has increased the rent by 300%, which is a staggering inflation. It therefore seems unbelievable they're now intent on forcing us to pay to park near our own Beach Hut, which we already pay the council and a considerable amount of money for. We would prefer that the parking remain free for everyone to access and enjoy the seafront without cost. However, if there are to be charges brought in, can you confirm whether there will be parking passes or concessions for Beach Hut owners? And the response is that the implementation of charges between Egypt Point and Gurnard will ensure a consistent approach to parking charges across the island, and in particular Esplanades. There are many areas across the island where parking charges have been implemented adjacent to beach huts. As concessions for hut owners have not been implemented at any of these locations, it would not be reasonable or consistent to do so here. The third question I have is from a Richard Newnham. Sorry, just bear with me a second. I assume you can still hear me.
We can hear you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes.
As 449 direct objections and over 3,000 change org objections have been raised, to the council who are proposing to tax residents to use the public green, beach huts, playground and GSC, and not having provided a detailed and realistic breakdown or timescale of the full expenditure and projected income, can the Cabinet reject this proposal on both well-being and financial grounds? And the response: the implementation of charges between Egypt Point and Gurnard will ensure a consistent approach to parking charges across the island, and in particular Esplanades. As such, it clearly does not constitute a tax on residents. There are many areas across the island where parking charges have been implemented adjacent to beach huts, clubs, play areas and outdoor areas used for recreation. Bear with me a second. Third question. Have I read three? Sorry, my apologies. I might have done that one.
Next question's from Mr. Titley.
David Titley. Yes, I have that one. Whilst understanding the need to raise revenue at this time, the introduction of these parking charges between Egypt, Esplanade and Gurnard will most definitely have a negative impact on the footfall to both the local businesses and to the Gurnard Sailing Club. We experienced this when meters were installed in Queen's Road opposite our business. Accepting that this has to be an estimate, how confident does the Cabinet feel about the projected income figures against the initial substantial investment needed to install the meters, bearing in mind the existing low take of the meters in Queen's Road? The response to that is that the income estimate reflects the seasonal use of the Esplanade and is based on known comparable data. Accordingly, it is considered realistic and achievable. And then I have a question from a Mr. and Mrs. Hall to me. We hold the license to trade on Prince's Esplanade with our ice cream van. You'll be aware we pay Isle of Wight Council for our trading site. We also pay Island Roads an additional fee. This facility creates 2 direct jobs and supports a total of 4 employees. It also supports jobs from local suppliers to the national economy and also local residents and visitors' well-being. With the installation of the parking meters, this will put these jobs and the Isle of Wight Council income in jeopardy. This goes against your corporate plan, which states that support regeneration, local businesses and residents' physical and mental well-being. It also goes against the government promise to help businesses recover. Has this loss of revenue and the loss of jobs been considered in respect of this proposal, as despite raising concerns in the consultation, we see no mention in your published agenda? And the response: the proposal to implement charges will replicate parking arrangements in all other coastal towns across the island, and there is no evidence to substantiate that will have an adverse impact on business revenue and a subsequent loss of jobs. Bear with me a second. I think I've read 5 questions. Can I just confirm that, Chief Exec?
Leader, it's the Chief Executive. You have read all the questions that we've received in writing. Thank you.
And I've given them a reply.
And given a reply, and they will all be posted on the website.
Thank you very much.
Minutes.
I don't have any more written questions. Do I have any members of the public that have notified us of a verbal question?
Chairman, it's the Chief Executive again. For as long as we're in the COVID arrangements, we don't have verbal questions on the agenda.
Okay, then I've dealt with all the public questions, and I thank all the questioners for asking the questions, and they've all been brought to the attention of the Cabinet so that they can take that into account when they consider the item on the agenda, which in fact is published and will be item number 8. I move now then to item 4 on the agenda, which is Chairman's announcements. The only announcement I wish to make at the moment, because of the situation we're in with the COVID-19 outbreak, is to thank all staff of the Isle of Wight Council for the extraordinary work that they have carried out and continue to carry out on behalf of the island community. I also want to emphasise to everybody the importance of staying at home, self-isolating if you think you have any symptoms, and making sure that we can all protect our NHS and other staff, both social care and way beyond, all those staff and people who are doing their best to protect our island at this time. And I'd like my thanks and appreciation to them all to be recorded. I'll move now to item 5 on the agenda, which is the Forest Road, Whitehouse Road Junction. For those that are following the agenda, is at page 13 to 38, and I will ask Councillor Ward if he would introduce the item, please.
Thank you, Leader. Before I go into the body of what I've got to say, I'd like to send our deep condolences from the members and officers of the council to the family of the lady who was tragically killed in the accident. If I move on, right, the police investigation is clear on 2 points. Firstly, that the accident was caused by driver error, which was admitted by the driver when she was prosecuted and subsequently found guilty. The second point, that the layout of the junction did not contribute to the accident. The accident record for that junction shows 7 accidents over the last 5 years, giving an average of only 1.28 to 1.4 accidents per year. I say only, you know, even 1 is too much, but we live in the real world, unfortunately. The average speed of vehicles on Forest Road approaching the junction do so under the speed limit, and the average speed for vehicles approaching the junctions on Whitehouse Road and Betty Horn Lane are below 40 miles an hour. While the report did not find fault with the layout of the junction, we recognise that there is public concern about some elements of the junction, so we will consider what measures we can take to make the junction more safe, and I stress more safe. We will review visibility displays, speed limits on all 3 roads, road markings, so stop lines, instead of giveaway lines. So we will review and we'll consider what improvements can be made. Okay, that's all I have, Leader. I don't know if any other members have points.
Okay, so first of all, I'll ask any other members who may wish to comment on this particular matter, which, if I can remind you, we had a petition originally presented and a lot of local concern at that time, but we waited until both the investigation and the inquest were completed, and that's all been done. Any other member who wishes to speak on this?
Yep.
Councillor Hutchinson, sorry.
Yep. Thank you, Leader. Just to confirm that I have an interest here because this junction is on the edge of my ward. It's on the edge of my ward and Councillor Hobart's ward. I'm really pleased that despite the fact that the accident was the driver error issue, we are nevertheless going to consider some sensible material improvements to that junction, and I look forward to seeing a proposal which delivers that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whittle? No, sorry, Councillor Abraham. Councillor Abraham, yeah.
Thank
Give
you.
it a few seconds, that's it, you're live.
Thank you, Leader. It's not really to say much other than I'm thank the portfolio holder for actually waiting until the report was in and the process has actually taken place, because it was a bit disconcerting at times when the petition was coming in and all sorts of accusations were being made about people, you know, and I think the process had to take place first. The police, it went through the courts and what everybody knows, and I just feel it's important to make that point, because people were jumping on a bandwagon that was very unfortunate for the family involved, and I just think that Ian has actually done it the whole process properly, and has probably taken quite a bit of stick for doing that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other council members on the call who may wish to ask a question? If not, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive just to give me a brief resume of the recommendation from scrutiny on Tuesday.
Thank you, Leader. Scrutiny noted the recommendations in the report.
Thank you. So we have the recommendations proposed by Councillor Ward. Does he have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Chairman. Stuart Hutchinson.
Thank you. So we're voting now on the recommendation, which is to approve option 1, namely to realign the hedge to improve visibility when entering Forest Road from Whitehouse Road, which is part of the 2021 Capital Works programme. and to re-evaluate any future works to the junction following the completion of the island-wide speed review and as part of the network safety and management programme. So this has been nominated and seconded. I'll just go around the members now and ask members to confirm. Councillor Whittle.
In favour.
Councillor Hutchinson.
For.
Councillor Mosdell.
For.
Councillor Peace.
For.
Councillor Brading.
For.
Councillor Hastings.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Two more I've missed at the moment. I apologise. Councillor Abraham, I should have asked.
Yeah, 4.
And me. Brian Tyndall.
Councillor Unforgettable Councillor Tyndall, I do apologise.
I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, 4.
Thank you. And I also support the recommendation. So that's complete. That's unanimous. Did you receive all that, Democratic Services?
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I will therefore move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6, which is permission to proceed with the commencement of the compulsory purchase orders. This is being introduced, I believe, by Councillor Abraham. Barry, over to you.
Yeah. Hold on live. Thank you, Leader. Yes, this paper comes before the committee tonight after some considerable time. Unfortunately, we've had to renew and refresh some of our policies, the empty property strategy and our compulsory purchase strategy, and how we were able to progress with it. Members will see how long it's actually been in the pipeline of actually coming through. And, you know, I don't think it gives me any great pleasure to say that this is a last resort, that we have to go for compulsory purchase. I don't like forcing things like this onto people, but we have to bear in mind that what the impact of empty properties and derelict properties actually have on a community. And I appreciate Sandown has quite a large number of these, and we are going to try and actually get around as much as we can with the money that we've got to look at others around the island. There are some properties I know in and around Newport that have been empty for as long as this, if not longer, and we have to start somewhere. And the ones in Fitzroy Street in Sandown have been, I think, been proven to be the ones that are really the ones that we do need to start with. It's been going on since 2004, which is a tremendous amount of time. We've been tried to engage with the owner of the property, and it gets so far and then it slips back. Well, I think tonight, Chairman, we do need to say enough is enough, and we go to compulsory purchases. I know the ward member, Councillor Ward, has actually been taken or has been pushing for this for some considerable time. So hopefully we can actually get things moving. It will take several months before we can actually move it forward, but I will move the recommendation.
Thank you.
Clearly set out in option 1 on page 47.
Thank you, Barry. Can I just propose a slight amendment? You'll note in that paragraph at 64, lower down, it says, and that the Director of Neighbourhoods be granted delegated authority to negotiate, agree and complete the purchase. And I think we should probably add in there, in consultation with and with the support of the Cabinet member, which is yourself. Are you happy with that amendment?
I will accept that as an amendment, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the recommendation, please?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Councillor Ward. Yeah, that's fine. And as obviously as the ward councillor, I'm sure you've got an interest. You'll follow it through. So members, we have the proposal now to move this forward. It's been clearly laid out by Councillor Abraham. Did you want to speak on it, Councillor Ward?
Yes, please, Leader. I wish to express my thanks to Councillor Abraham for finally getting getting this underway and getting it sorted out. And as you have seen, it's a long saga, and I have worked with officers trying to resolve this, and quite frankly, it's been one step forward, two steps backward. They've overcome all sorts of obstacles and objections to get us there. Unfortunately, people think that compulsory purchase is a simple thing to achieve. The council can just do that, and we know now, having gone through the saga, that it's just not that simple at all. It's a long process. So I thank Councillor Abraham, and I thank the officers that I've worked with to get to this point. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay. Does any other member wish to speak on this from the Cabinet? No? Okay. Then I propose that we move to the vote on this one.
Chairman, it's the Chief Executive.
Sorry, yeah, I should have asked for the comments of scrutiny. Yes.
Thank you. Again, the scrutiny comments were that the recommendation was noted, and there are no other members of the council showing in the chat bar wishing to ask a question.
Thank you. That's very helpful to me. Right, I'll move to the vote then, and I'll follow my list as before. Councillor Whittle.
For.
Sorry, Councillor Hutchinson.
For.
Councillor Mosdell.
For.
Councillor Peace.
For.
Councillor Brading.
For.
Councillor Hastings.
For.
Councillor Ward. I'll see him for. Councillor Abraham.
For.
Councillor Tyndall.
For.
And I also am for. So that is approved, and we'll now move forward. Thank you all very much for that. Can I now move to item 7 on the agenda, which is entitled Beach Management Strategy. It is pages 55 to 78 in the papers, and I will ask Councillor Steve Hastings if he will introduce and explain this item. Councillor Hastings.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This is a strategy. We're a tourist island, and apart from heritage, which is very important, and our coastal walks and hills and what have you, beaches are so important. The strategy, I have to say, is not just a strategy, it's an action plan as well. That's crucial as far as I'm concerned. We need clean beaches, good water quality, and a safe place to swim. And that's what this strategy is all about. I would like to say actually right now that to thank the RNLI, because as you see in the paper, they've offered to do an audit across our beaches and on the water, and at no cost to the council. I've had conversations with officers, cabinet members, and the local members, especially in the Bay, and I felt it was important. I did have an amendment made to the recommendations, which is to give us the option, funding possible if we can find funding for it, to actually install some of the marker buoys prior to the RNLI audit. And I feel that's important because, quite frankly, in my opinion, they should never have been taken out, but that's just a personal opinion. And with that, I think I'll pass over to Alex Minns is here. I think he will probably want to run through the strategy itself.
Thank you. Mr. Minns, are you on the call?
I am, yes. Good evening. Thank you.
You can give us a concise summary. That would be helpful.
Well, I won't present the whole paper to you because it's quite considerable. This has obviously already been presented to neighbourhoods, regeneration scrutiny and corporate scrutiny over the last week and a half. The Beach Management Framework 2021-2026, which is in the appendices, which is the full report, has come about as a result of an earlier audit where it was recommended the Isle of Wight Council consider having a proper framework, which is what is presented to you today. What the framework tries to do is to provide an audit of all of the activities that we currently have on offer, and then recommends, as Councillor Hastings has suggested, a full action plan, which I think is the important part, that will look at what we might be able to do in the future so that we may be able to make further recommendations to you to improve our beach environment. In a nutshell, there are 5 areas which it covers. It covers beach and slipway cleaning, It covers beach safety, and that includes the marker buoys that Councillor Hastings has just mentioned, beach awards, bathing waters, and beach and seafront concessions. And then that takes us to the recommendations, which Councillor Hastings alluded to. There are 4 recommendations. Number one is to adopt the beach strategy framework as it is listed in the appendices. 2 would be to adopt it but propose some slight amendments. And 3 would be not to adopt it at all. And the last option, which Councillor Hastings has alluded to, is that we adopt the beach management strategy, but also bring forward the installation of the marker buoys, which we used to have in place, subject to funding being available. And that's it, and obviously open to any questions. And we have the author of the report with us on the call as well, Sean Newton.
Thank you, Alex, for that concise summary. I'll ask Councillor Metcalfe, the Chief Executive, if he would just explain what scrutiny's response was to this particular item, please.
Thank you, Leader. Again, scrutiny noted the amended recommendations. I see, Leader, you've got Councillor Brading indicating he wishes to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Brading.
Yes, thank you, Leader. No camera. It's better. Thank you, Leader. I very much welcome this policy. It's long overdue. Long before I became a councillor, there were buoys in the bay at Sandown, and there's been lots of instances this summer with water-powered crafts, not only jet skis but other crafts, you know, constantly reporting getting too close to swimmers. What I really welcome about this policy is the fact that Councillor Hastings managed to get a clause put in, clause on option 4, that marker buoys would be put in the water if funding is agreed before the RNLI audit is completed. This is the start point of a bigger journey for us to make the island waters safe. I'm grateful to Cabinet for listening to my constant arguing that Sandown and the Bay area should be the first area to have these buoys put back in the water. One question I just have for Councillor Hastings, point 13 in the paper says that if agreed, officers are going to tender the service to ensure they're in place for the 2021 bathing season. I'd like to know what's considered to be the start of the 2021 bathing season, please. And if that's, you know, advised to me accordingly, I'll more than happily support this policy and grateful for the work that's gone on behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve, did you want to deal with the bathing? Do you want to dip into that?
Yeah, it might be as well at this point to bring in the author of the paper, Sean Newton, and just see what he suggests the bathing season for 21 is.
Mr. Newton, you're on the call.
I am indeed. Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Hastings.
If you could just give me a brief explanation of what you would describe as the bathing season, you don't need to reintroduce the whole paper.
No, that's fine. The bathing season is traditionally regarded as the 1st of May through to the 30th of September. Thank
you, Sean. That's very concise. Thank you very much. I just want to comment on this one, having heard from scrutiny. As you will hear later, Councillor Hastings is also doing a much wider piece of work linked to our coastal community and how we want to really make the Isle of Wight as a whole back to the offer that it's always been able to offer, which is a fantastic place to come and visit at the right time, and our beaches form a crucial part of that. And he'll talk a little bit about some work he's already started with another colleagues in another county adjacent to us who are very interested in what we're doing and want to support us. So I won't steal all his thunder, but he certainly has my full support here to see the boys back in the bay and to see the bay back in full use. Is probably an aspiration of many people on the island. So I'm very, very pleased and very happy to support him on this one. On that basis, is there a seconder for
Councillor Brading? I would love to second this paper, please.
Thank you for that. So I'll then take this to the vote now.
Chairman, sorry, Chief Executive again. Just to confirm, there are no members showing in the chat bar who wish to ask any further questions on this paper.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't look at that.
Thank you.
I will acknowledge straight away, Councillor Andre, thank you for supporting the buoy principle. Any other members wish to speak? To question on this one, rather? No, okay, then I'll move to the vote and follow my usual order. In fact, I'll start at the bottom. I support this. Councillor Tyndall.
4.
Councillor Abraham,
4.
Councillor Ward,
4.
Councillor Hastings,
4.
Councillor Brading,
4.
Councillor Peace,
4.
Councillor Mosdell,
4.
Councillor Hutchinson,
4.
and Councillor Whittle.
4.
Thank you, members. That's through. I now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Isle of Wight Parking Places Order 2020, which is at pages 79 to 106. I believe our monitoring officer is on the line, if I can just confirm that.
Yes, Leader.
Just a brief question, Mr. Potter. You are our expert in this area. Can you confirm that the order which is being considered is a lawful order for us to consider?
Yes, indeed, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll move then to Councillor Ward, who is presenting this particular paper, and hand over to him to speak on it.
Thank you, Leader. This parking places order relates to the Isle of Wight Council budget compilation of February 2020, which was agreed by full council. One of the principles of the revision of parking charges was to achieve fairness and consistency. Up until now, any increases in parking charges was applied to existing car parks and on-street locations. This policy meant that the residents who use those sites in a community were solely subjected to the rise in charges, while residents living in other communities with no discernible differences paid nothing at all. That cannot be regarded as fair. Surely it is better and fairer for everybody to pay a little more than for some people to pay a lot more, while again others pay nothing. Of course, nobody likes to pay more, but I'm sure all members understand the council finances are under pressure, so the council must look for savings and revenue generation where it can. I've considered the representations made, and I consider them genuine representations of what people feel. However, most of the reasons given within the representation apply equally to other communities. Ryde, Shanklin, Sandown all have sailing clubs where members have to pay parking charges. The parents of Sandown Seafront Play Park have to pay parking charges. Residents taking exercise along seafronts have to pay parking charges. I'm afraid the list goes on. So we are trying to achieve parity and fairness, so no community is disadvantaged or given preference against another. And I think that's the gist of the principle, Leader. It's about fairness.
Thank you. Councillor Whittle, do you want to speak on this? And I'm going to ask if you'll second it in due course.
Yeah, I noted the other night I was at scrutiny, Councillor Fuller raised my name and Ryde as an example because it was once his ward. Well, Councillor Fuller and his new ward have done well to escape parking charges along their seafront for years, because it's very much like Ryde, because they're both commuter towns. And I opposed the parking charges on Ryde seafront on behalf of my residents for years, but I had no argument, because they said if you don't have parking charges in a commuter town, all your seafront will be taken up by commuters all day long because it's free to park. But I was very sad, you know, I've opposed parking charges. I remember leading the protest marches about when Councillor Fuller's past administration introduced further parking charges in Ryde at Puckpool and Apley. And they put them there as well. And our beach owners didn't have to pay. So all I can say to you, Councillor Fuller, is you escaped well for a long time. But it's like Councillor Ward says, is fair. And ultimately, you reap what you sow. So if we can pay Ryde for the seafront parking, so can you in Gurnard and Cowes, because you're a commuter town exactly the same as Ryde. You did well to escape for so long. In fact, it flies in the face of the whole argument that's been put to Ryde for years, the fact that you haven't been paying. So all I can say is it's fair and I'll support it. I don't think anyone should pay to park, but we don't live in that sort of world. And, you know, we've all got to chip in because we have things to pay for, like the floating bridge, which comes out of parking finance. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go. Any other cabinet members wish to speak on this?
Yes, please,
Councillor
Leader.
Brading.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's fair to say that parking is and will always be a very emotive subject for every community on the island, as already has been mentioned. It isn't really about income generation completely. It is about fairness across the island. I think point 9 in the paper actually clearly says that this is about, fairness. I fully understand the situation of Cowes and Gurnard. I worked in Cowes for many years, but equally when I look at the Bay Area, which obviously I live in, we have 2 sailing clubs, 1 rowing club, 1 water sports facility, and children's play parks, golf facilities, and lots of pubs and businesses on the seafront, and they all pay to park. And I think it is absolutely right. I've listened to all the comments, and my balanced view is it's absolutely right that there's fairness across the whole island. So I would absolutely support the recommendations in this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Abraham, did I see your hand up?
Yes, Leader. I do support the implementation of the parking charges. It is unfortunate that we have to do it. It's I think, as Councillor Whittle said, it's something that in an ideal world we wouldn't have to do. But the last administration did introduce them in some pretty small villages as well. Certainly Wootton and Carisbrooke have both got parking charges. I fought long and hard to try and stop them for as long as I could. But it does mean that a lot of times the car park that was full up for a considerable amount of time with people that were just parking there to just to sort of go basically to the car ferry. They would drop somebody off, people would drop off. And it does mean that the car parks are used for other purposes as well. It's the only way that the council can actually get that churn that you actually need to be able to create more people shopping for the community. It's the only way that you'll ever do it. Some people just park there all day otherwise, and they never ever, it is totally unfair, I think, but it is the only tool in the council's chest that it's got to be able to get that churn for the whole community.
Thank you, Barry. There's a couple of, is there any other cabinet member wishing to speak? That's the first question, sorry. No, okay. So I'm understanding at this stage that Councillor Whittle will second the motion, and the recommendation, and Councillor Ward is leading on it. We do have comments and scrutiny, but I would just remind members that we also have had to consider the public questions that were raised, and I read them all out to you so that you can take that into account as well. I'm going to ask Mr. Metcalfe if he'll just summarise what the scrutiny committee had to say, but we also have the chairman of the scrutiny committee with us. And whilst there were 2 recommendations that didn't pass scrutiny, I anticipate the chair of scrutiny may wish to comment as well. So if I go to Mr. Metcalfe first, if you wouldn't mind reading the scrutiny committee recommendations or as stand. Over.
Thank you, Chairman. It's the Chief Executive. As you said, scrutiny ultimately decided to note the recommendations in the report.
Thank you. And I will just invite, because he's indicated he wishes to speak, Councillor Hollis, if he's on the call, he may wish to comment as well. Councillor Hollis.
Right. Thank you very much indeed, Leader. I just wanted to make a comment. Yes, I did put forward some proposals at the Scrutiny Committee meeting. I fully accept the fact that they were not accepted by the full Scrutiny Committee, but I do have to just ask that, not everywhere is the same, and occasionally you have to have, you can view something that there is a special case. The green at Gurnard, which is, I believe, established as a village green, it has some businesses around it where there is nowhere else to park. And there's the sailing club. The sailing club does a terrific service to the community. with a lot of teaching children to sail, etc., and the facility to not penalise those people because there is no car parking run by the sailing club. That the opportunity to not penalise them, I hope would be taken. I fully understand the need to raise revenue. Princess Esplanade itself has got an ongoing cost of renewal of corroding railings, etc. I know there's a very large cost for keeping the Esplanade, and I can understand why there is a need for a parking charge. But perhaps if it could finish at the bottom of the hill by the green, or perhaps a little bit further, you still have revenue coming from the car parking, but you're allowing a certain freedom in that village green.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis, and thank you on your behalf for representing those important points which were discussed at scrutiny, and I was obviously there at that time, and although they weren't voted on, we had noted. I'm grateful that you're representing the interests of those people in Cowes to make sure that Cabinet hear that. And notwithstanding any vote on the overall order, I think as we go forward, this point that Councillor Hollis raises in terms of the green, the village as I would call it, I think it's called a village because I'm not from that side of the island, we can still have a look at that and we can consider all of that aspect. But I think we should vote on this today to deal with the matter in hand. And I'm sure Councillor Ward will be happy for ongoing dialogue, as he always is, as we move forward. Are you happy with that, Councillor Ward?
Yeah, certainly, Leader. Yes.
Thank you very much. So we're voting on the recommendation as laid out.
Leader, sorry, it's the Chief Executive again. Sorry to interrupt one more time. There are no members shown in the chat bar, but you may wish to just check whether any members on the call wish to ask a question or speak.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you for picking me up. I don't mind that at all. Is there any other member wishes to speak on this matter? And thank you, Councillor Harless, again for your comments. Councillor Peace, I see. Did you want to speak on this, or am I just?
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realise you would. Carry on.
I agree with this proposal. I don't think there is anywhere on this island that is particularly unique and that shouldn't have parking charges applied. And if we don't go down this route, perhaps I can put an argument that ventners charges are abolished, because I'd like to be treated the same way as Gurnard.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so well, let's see how the vote is. So Councillor Ward has made his proposals through the paper. Thank you, the officers who prepared the paper. It's quite a complex document. And I just want to, after the recommendation, Chief Exec may help me here. Just for the moment, I've lost it.
Chairman, I would invite Councillor Ward if he has a recommendation.
I do. Hang on. Let me get it.
Sorry, Councillor Ward. I just, I had it.
Don't worry, I've got it. Okay. Just turn to the right page.
Yeah, that was my problem. I went into the detail.
Okay.
It's because Mr. Newton always sends us detailed reports. Pretty good.
The recommendation, it is recommended that the Cabinet adopt option 2, which is to approve the charges to parking places as set out in the Isle of Wight Council Parking Places Order 2020 at Appendix 4 and implement as soon as practically possible.
Okay, thank you. And the seconder is Councillor Whittle, is that correct? Well, I'll second.
Councillor Whittle did second, Leader.
Yeah, sorry, okay. And so I'll go to the vote.
Going on and off, I second it, sorry.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Whittle, on that basis, I assume you're for?
For, yes.
Councillor Hutchinson?
For.
Councillor Mosdale?
For.
Councillor Peace?
For.
Councillor Brading?
For.
Councillor Hastings?
For.
Councillor Ward?
For.
Councillor Abraham?
For.
Councillor Tyndall?
For.
And I also am for. So that is carried through. We move now to item 9 on the agenda, which is going to be Cabinet member announcements. I'm going to invite the Cabinet members to make announcements as they have, and I'll work through my list again, starting in the middle. Councillor Brading.
I wasn't expecting to go first. Camera. Thank you, Leader. Just a few things I'd just like to bring to your attention. Firstly, just a little announcement that through our winter grants funding scheme we put in place before Christmas, we're about to just relaunch again our Connect for Communities grant scheme. We managed to give out 10 grants before Christmas, totaling 56,600. But I put aside a grant pot of 145,000, and this grant pot is for small groups. We all know these in our wards, to apply for small amounts of funding to help families and young children at this difficult time. So we'll be relaunching that again tomorrow, because there's still a pot of money to be. A simple process, just the connect4communities.org follows through to the details in the application forms. Just like to mention laptops. A lot of concern about laptops with pupils now learning more remotely. We did have 800 laptops were supplied in the summer term, and that was primarily for vulnerable children who didn't have access to learning technology to use from home. Since then, we have another 780 laptops are imminently arriving. The government's aim ultimately is to make sure that everybody has got access to IT to home educate, and if any parent needs advice or guidance on that, contact their schools, who will contact us regarding the rollout of technology. But what we need to mention, agenda item 9, paper 9, page 107, is an annual report on our Children's Services and Hampshire partnership. I won't go through the report in detail, it's just for noting. Just some key points I want to raise actually. Bear in mind, in 2013, the Secretary of State, under a statutory declaration, direction said that we needed to be partnered with Hampshire to improve our overall service, and that's when the journey started. We've been on a journey since then, and we've made massive progress, so much as in June 2018 we took the decision to renew that partnership with Hampshire for a further 5 years. And I say it is a partnership now because Hampshire, use some experiences from us. We use experiences from them. We work with them very much in partnership now because our service has improved so much. As you know, we had an Ofsted inspection in November 2018. Certain comments like professional leadership was recognised. We were rated good in every single area, which put us at the time in the top quintile in the country. And Hampshire, of course, are outstanding in every area. And those experiences that they're bringing to the table on the Isle of Wight really means that we're also on a journey to outstanding. Also during COVID, the strength of partnership has really come to the fore. Our Children's Services has worked brilliantly through the whole of COVID. We've delivered business as usual.
Oh, you're frozen, Councillor Brading.
The Isle of Wight's been...
You're there now. You're nearly there.
Technology went down. Sorry. Yeah, the strength of the partnership was played through during COVID. We delivered business as usual in Children's Services, and the paper explained in more depth what the partnership does for us. But it's been a real strength and one we've benefited from. Hampshire benefited from as well, and we're on a journey to continue our progress towards outstanding in the future. But and I'll take any questions on the report, and I know Director of Children's Services Steve Crocker is on the call as well, but the paper is just for noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brading, and I think we should note that report of being good in all areas is a milestone for the Isle of Wight, and I too would like to extend my thanks to our Hampshire colleagues, and indeed a number of whom are our Isle of Wight colleagues, who have helped you to deliver such a good position. So thank you very much for that. This is just for noting. Does any members wish to speak on the report of the Cabinet?
Chairman, again, it's the Chief Executive, just to say to other members and people listening that the intention would be that we add this report to the next Council Quarterly Performance Management Report, which would allow other members the opportunity to ask some detailed questions about the strength of the partnership.
That's fine, and that's a good thing to do as well, I think. Appreciate that. Thank you, John. Okay, so members have asked me note to that. I'll then move on to Councillor Peace.
Thank you, Chair. Am I live?
You are live.
Thank you. So I've got a number of points to bring across to Cabinet today. The first is, as part of my regular monthly meetings I have with Ventnor Town Council, which I've been doing since being elected, I'd just like to pass on my thanks, or their thanks, to officers here at the Isle of Wight Council for the work that officers have done with the transfer of gardens from the Isle of Wight Council's control over to Ventnor Town Council. It's something they've wanted for a long time, and we finally achieved that. And in the meeting I had with them last week, or earlier this week actually, they did ask me to pass on their sincere thanks for the hard work that officers have done to enable that to take place. Secondly, now that we've moved into the new year, it's probably a good time to remind people of LeBlanc, which is the cycle race that we have coming to the Isle of Wight. It was initially scheduled for end of last year, but because of COVID, they had to cancel it. We've now got a new date, April the 23rd to April the 25th. So hopefully, with some fingers crossed, we'll start to move out of lockdown and out of COVID restrictions. And just a reminder, we've got the likes of Sir Bradley Wiggins, Raymond Blanc, Sean Yates, Adam Blythe, Ashley Palmer-Watts, Joanna Rousel. They're all going to be coming to this island for a cycling and a food extravaganza. It's really going to put the island on the map. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. Next, something members may have seen is about Cows Week. And I'm a little bit hesitant to raise it because it concerns 5G, and we all know some of the history around the controversy of 5G with some of our residents. But Cows Week will be powered by 5G. This coming year. And what it means is that we're going to have cameras on all of the boat, or a huge number of the boats. Spectators and fans can actually, log on and become completely immersed in the sailing and the race itself. But it's not just 5G it's not just Cows Week that 5G supports. Going forwards, it fits with our digitalising strategy. It fits with the super fast fibre rollout being performed by White Fibre currently, which will put the Isle of Wight on the map. It will give us the fastest broadband compared to most people in most countries around the world. And with 5G, it further enables us to push our digital agenda and our digital transformation. A huge number of benefits along with health, with the economy, and with, especially in light of COVID, working from home and so on and so forth. So it really is something to be shouting about. So I'm really happy with that. And then lastly, I want to move on to some really good work that our officers in environmental services, environmental health, alongside colleagues from Hampshire Constabulary on the island here. They've been out and we've made our first coronavirus lockdown fines, our fixed penalty notices. They've been issued against two of the owners or the controllers of Evolution Gym in Ryde. Both have been fined over £1,000 each, and a number of gym goers were also fined also. That occurred on I think it's the 10th of January. When officers were in attendance, and the fines have been brought in because the Evolution Gym were acting outside of accordance with lockdown rules. They were operating, they shouldn't have been. And this really comes down to one of the reasons why figures are so high on this island, and that's because of people's behaviour. They haven't been following the rules, and they really do need to. But it also brings me on to the fact that we also need to talk about what essential workers are, and the fact that even though these rules are about staying at home when you can, there is actually a need for people to go to work. And it's probably a good point for me to bring in Councillor Mosdell here, because she's got some really good experience around some of the issues that that I think we're all suffering with the current lockdown. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Gary. If I go to you next, then Councillor Mosdell, you can deal with that, and then any other aspects in the one hit, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm quite happy to do my bit and then hand over to Wayne, because he looks like he's bursting, and then you come back to adult social care. For me, just to follow on from public protection, is that we keep reiterating the messages to stay at home, but there should be consideration given to those who cannot stay at home for work. This is a difficult and worrying time for those that work in essential manufacturing industries. For example, the incredible work that companies such as Micronair are doing at this current difficult time. My husband is an electrician, and he would not refuse to go on a call out and leave a home without electric. And I've got friends who are plumbers I know who would ensure that people's heating, etc. is working. Those that have to go out to work feel, even with extra safety measures that are in place, such as temperature checks, face masks and hand sanitisers, that currently it's a bit like Russian roulette. There should be extra measures such as more lateral testing put in place, and care for everyone who has to venture out each day to go to work. So from every shop worker, those in essential manufacturing, hard-working tradesperson, I personally would like to thank them and let them know we are investigating everything we can do to support them and their families to reduce the risks that they face. My husband, I am sure, looks forward to the day that he's not made to undress on the doorstep, put all his clothes in a hot wash and have him go straight and have a shower, just for us to have some resemblance of a safe family life. And it's very difficult and worrying time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We'll come back to you at the end just to perhaps touch on a couple of adult social care issues, including that recent very successful award. Right, I'll move straight to Councillor Whittle. I did see your hand, Wayne, sorry.
It's okay. Only just to say that the regeneration team continue to move projects forward despite COVID, and the need for projects even more important at this time, really, to support the recovery. Branston Farm, we're moving well on that now. It's a housing and lovely housing and business units we're putting in there, the green housing, and we've got the Let and Homes England funding confirmed, and planning approval confirmed, and demolition phase is already underway. Venture Keys, we had a film company use the barracks to make the movie they were filming here all summer, and we've also enabled Ratanui's growth by letting them expand into the Albany building. We also prepared a bid for the Government Levelling Up Fund. And I just wanted to use this time really to say it's been a fantastic effort by East Cowes volunteers to improve the esplanade in front and around the landslip to provide clearance for better amenity and seating areas later this year, which is a real community regeneration project in action. Also wanted to use this time to remind all businesses on the island that the business grants are available. There's 4 different grants. They're all up online now on the Isle of Wight Council website, and the grants are given out on a first come, first served basis. So I would urge all businesses to go online on the Isle of Wight Council website, fill in your forms and get your grants. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Councillor Hutchinson, is there anything you wish to add at the moment? I know you're embedded in the COVID situation, but I don't require it necessarily.
No, I don't think there's anything more I need to say, Leader. I had the opportunity to report on both financial issues and on the COVID recovery plans at the Neighbourhood and Regeneration Scrutiny Committee last week, and again earlier this week at the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. So I feel that simply repeating that again would be somewhat overkill, so nothing else to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tyndall.
Yes, I have something to say, and it's about the various people in the revenue and other members of the Isle of Wight staff, and the way they've been getting out these business loans. and it's been tremendous. But what I'm going to do, you received this email, and I'm going to read it because it's no good us saying how good they are. This is from someone else from outside the organisation. It says, I just wanted to offer some praise to the council for their support and efficiency with the various COVID grants. I know that the council is the first organisation to be rated by the public and is often a thankless task, so I wanted to thank you and the team. I have colleagues in various parts of the country and few have been so well supported by their council as we have on the island. In very difficult times, your support has been excellent, and whilst there will always be some who moan at anything, I can assure you that your support is appreciated and is some of the best in the country. Keep up the good work and pass on my thanks.
Well, thank you for that, Brian, and you've done just that. I'm grateful. Councillor Hastings?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, just quickly say that's really good to hear, Councillor Tyndall, to get that report back. Yeah, something you alluded to earlier, Leader. Having taken responsibility for beaches fairly recently, I'm not aware necessarily of all the background, the history, the boys, etc., but I'm learning a lot as I go along, I have to tell you. Then, as we always do, and people might think we just come to cabinet meeting and that's it. No, we have informal cabinet meetings on a regular basis, and we thrash things out and we get to the bottom of everything there is to get to the bottom of. And in a conversation with yourself, Leader, we realised, or began to realise, that it's one thing putting marker buoys in, it's one thing requesting that swimmers are kept safe and separate from personal watercraft, but how do you enforce it? And how do you enforce something that's maybe different across the Solent? Different rules, different policies, and maybe a police officer is not quite sure what the bylaw is here, there and everywhere. Well, we have a bylaw for our beaches. You made a suggestion, Leader, that perhaps we should have a coastal community forum. And that sparked in me, and I thought that's a really good idea. So I've picked up with officers and we've talked about it, and we now have set a meeting up for the 25th of January where we're going to thrash it out. And I understand now that there are various community forums or what have you, and matters, things in the background that I will learn more about. But the most important thing I thought was the connection between all the local, like from Bournemouth to Brighton, if you like. And thankfully, Leader, you sent me a connection to somebody in Bournemouth who I have been in contact with, who actually is responsible for beaches there. And that, with the view that we get this forum going, or join, we could join the LGA forum. I believe it's it's already set up. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's something set up that we can join and it will be useful, for us and for them and so on, and to get a uniform policy, which I think is really important, then that's what we'll do. If there isn't, then we'll set one up and start it. And I've already invited said person from Bournemouth who's quite happy to liaise with us and join in.
Thank you. That's excellent. And I think the message out publicly to our island community is, if you are what you would consider part of the coastal community, and we've got a whole range of volunteers, RNLI, beach hut owners, small businesses on the beach, a whole raft of people who sometimes we don't always think about, who actually are the people that deliver that fantastic offer to the visitors that come to the island. This is their opportunity to have a say in what we're going to do going forward and to be part of the solution. So I'm very grateful for you setting that up. You're absolutely right. The gentleman from Bournemouth who you've already made contact with now, bear in mind Bournemouth was the place that had all its challenges a few months ago with the COVID situation. He's also doing some national work as well. So I'm grateful you've taken that on. I look forward with interest how that progresses. I'm sure it'll be professional, and I'm grateful for that. Councillor Ward, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so, Leader, no.
Thank you. Can I just also thank you for overseeing the work at St Mary's roundabout, now Junction. I don't often get emails in thanking people, but you have had some thanks, Ian, for the oversight of that, and we're now moving on, as you know, to other areas that will help Newport intersection.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, Councillor Abraham, did you have anything you wish to make?
Yes, please, Leader. One thing that has been raised consistently by other members and also town and parish councils, as you're aware, is the 106 payments that come via planning. And I've just got something that I've prepared just to read. And it's most people will, I think, be aware of Section 106 contributions or financial contributions from developers. Whilst these contributions can only be collected in certain circumstances, they are important to help us bring forward specific projects to mitigate impacts of new development. I'm pleased to report to members that since the 31st of December, we have made more information available about the Section 106 money we hold. How much was collected in years 19 to 20, and what projects it has been spent on or allocated in that year. Even though the contributions are collected by the Isle of Wight Council, and it is for the Isle of Wight Council to determine the spend, I think it's really positive to increase the transparency in the system, and it's something that I've been sort of working with officers on. New software has also been designed so that information on Section 106 money can be provided online in real time in a more publicly accessible way, and I know officers are working on making this happen. By making this more accessible, it is my hope that organisations such as parish and town councils will be able to engage with us over what Section 106 money is collected, to where it complies with the regulations, how the money is spent, and communities can start to see the associated benefits of new developments. I can make that available to all members if you wish, and certainly make sure that it goes to town and parish councils, because one of the criticisms that we do get is around the 106 money, and it's something that, you know, as a parish councillor myself, I do feel quite strongly that we do need to be able to work with our town and parish councils, and also show them how they can actually increase that money coming from developments through 106. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Barry, and I'm grateful that's been something that members of the public have asked for quite often, and town and parish councils, as you know, so that's a major step forward. Apart from myself, and I'll wait till last, can I ask Councillor Mosdell to deal with that at social care? Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Work across both adult social care and housing needs continues to be dominated by the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. As the effect the virus has on community increases, so does the demand on social care and housing services and on our staff. We continue to see significant impact on our internal services as a result of the reduced workforce levels due to isolation and contract tracing and greater numbers of vulnerable people accessing support. The pressure being experienced by our teams is unlike that ever experienced before. These challenges are reflected across not only adult social care and housing needs within the council, but in adult social care and health more widely across the island. We are seeing increasing numbers of health and social care workers off sick or isolating, which reduces workforce availability. We are increasingly seeing providers struggling to maintain capacity and safe services, and continue to work with those providers, Public Health England, our local public health colleagues and health partners to manage this risk as appropriately as possible. The unprecedented impact of a worldwide pandemic continues to be felt, not only by us, but also by our partners on a scale that is challenging and becoming more increasingly difficult to manage. By working closely with our partners in health, in the independent sector and in the voluntary sector, we are focusing not only on ensuring that support is available to people who need it, but on wider access to testing and the rollout of the vaccination too. The Isle of Wight Trust, NHS Trust last week, were able to open their vaccination hub to our wider social care workforce, and this support is very much appreciated. The Trust have enabled frontline carers of vulnerable people in registered services, the voluntary sector, the council, and those who work privately to access vaccinations they would not have been able to access yet through the national programme. Timely vaccination will help to reduce workforce challenges and to keep people safe. This local offer is indicative of the strong partnership between social care and health on the island. Whilst the response to COVID will no doubt play a significant part in the adult social care and housing needs agenda moving forward, other work continues. The past month has seen key achievements for the Directorate. Firstly, significant work has been undertaken to support people who are rough sleeping on the island. For the past 2 weeks, we confirmed that we have seen 0 rough sleepers within our county boundary. Currently, as of today, triangulated across services, we have 1 person confirmed, and that is someone who has declined all offers of temporary accommodation. This person, however, is still engaging with outreach and navigators. This is a fluid and fragile position and always subject to change, but our housing needs teams have been working tirelessly to ensure that every one of our local residents has a safe place to stay. Secondly, our internal outreach and reablement services and shared life services have both had their initial CQC inspection following registration. Both have been rated good across all domains. This is a testament to the hard work of both registered managers and the teams that they work with. Thirdly, following a lengthy procurement process, we have been successful in appointing our 3 new locality home care providers. This will see a change in the way the council commissions support for people in their own homes from the 1st of February 2021. The focus on ensuring that people receive quality care and support remains, with a renewed focus on maximising and maintaining independence. We are excited to work with Noblest Care, CSN Care Watch and First City Nursing as our lead locality partners as we embark on this journey. The development of this service will be supported by wider system partners, including our colleagues in the NHS Trust, the CCG and Health Watch. The work in relation to the development of a system-wide dementia strategy, a new carer strategy and a refreshing of the learning disability strategy remains in progress following consultation with key stakeholders and our wider community. All 3 have valuable role to play in the longer-term shaping of local service offers and in reflecting lessons learned from the past year from COVID. All 3 strategies will be launched in due course, and I would encourage my fellow members to engage in these launches so they can see the work being undertaken in our communities for our vulnerable residents. And finally, my huge congratulations goes to Laura Gordian on being awarded the British Empire Medal. And I know she will say this is due to everything her team has done in such difficult times. So from me, the Cabinet team, and I'm sure from my fellow councillors across all parties, we would like to thank everyone who works within adult social care, housing needs and across the whole council for everything you are doing in such a difficult time to help so many people safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Osdorf. And I'm going to conclude this Cabinet Members report with some items myself. I first of all want to thank this Cabinet team for their strong and professional leadership. As they know, I have been abstracted for some different aspects of work, including leading the Local Outbreak Management Board, which today our local media and other media, including the BBC, ITV and Independence, were given the latest up-to-date briefing, and I thank the media for all the work they're doing to publicise the urgency across the island. I've also been dealing with the issues we have regarding COVID and our lifeline ferries, and we await news on what we're doing there in terms of funding support with government. That's together with our Island MP, Bob Seeley. And the third thing I've been doing is preparing for a meeting with government regarding the island deal with our MP and our Chief Executive. And those 3 things I can tell you have involved quite a lot of engagement, so I thank you. I also want to thank our town and parish councils. We seem to have a very positive relationship. Councillor Peace mentioned Ventnor. We've got the Bay at Shanklin. We've talked about the work that's now going on with Newport, shaping Newport and the High Street, and I could go on. There seems to be a determination amongst everybody to do their best for the island. And I think all the while we are building that attitude up, that's the way we all need to be. So I just thank everybody for that. And we have tough times ahead, but we will get through. I'm sure we will get through. and we can then enjoy the better times that we know we had before. So I'm now going to move to members' questions. Sorry, I think I might have one other item before that. Apologise. Yeah, sorry, I should have taken the forward plan. Just for the record, we've dealt with the items on Forest Road, which was today, the compulsory purchase order, which was today, and the beach management, that was today. On the 24th of February, is slightly out of order. We will have our budget and council tax setting to deal with. We will have our parking delivery plan that's due to come in on the 11th of February. We have the public health annual report on the 11th of February. We have the quarterly performance report on the 11th of February. We have the Isle of Wight banding, 24th of February, which is children's services and education. We have the pay policy to deal with at full council on the 20th of January. We have the school funding formula, which needs to be addressed and set on the 29th of January. We will have our local council tax support decisions to make on the 20th of January at full council. We have the Isle of Wight parking order, which we've addressed. We have progress to deal with on the housing strategy action plan on the 11th of February. We will have the Isle of Wight motorcycle time trial event that could be up for consideration on the 11th of March. And we will have a motion referred from full council to deal with on the 11th of February at that score. And the one other thing I wanted to do to give people a positive, the council is now working with the organisers of the Tour of Britain, which is due to come to the island still, as agreed, on the 2022. But we are now working on a big event in 2021, which will bring a festival of cycling here on the island, for which all enthusiasts in the cycling fraternity, and it's a very diverse group, will now be able to participate. We anticipate this being in September. It sits really well with our island's green agenda, and I thank everybody for that. And I think it's giving us some things to look forward to in these really challenging times. So I've taken on 2 items there very briefly. And the last item, but no less important, is members' question time. I haven't had any in writing from members. Other than that, I'll just check that with the Chief Executive and make sure we're not missing anything.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not aware of any questions received in writing, although I'd look for our Democratic Services colleagues just to confirm that. Thank you.
No, Chairman, we haven't had any.
Okay. Well, we've completed the agenda today. I thank everybody who's contributed their reports, both officers and members. I'm grateful to you. The time on my watch now is 6:18, and I will draw the meeting to a close.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Thank you.